Welcome to our distance formula video. This is our final video in the series teaching you how to find the distance between points. In previous videos, we've used counting or subtraction to find the length of horizontal and vertical segments. However, often lines aren't horizontal or vertical. So how would we find the length of this green segment? You'll notice we can't count the number of squares. In this case, we're going to have to use the distance formula. The distance formula is shown on the top right of this screen. The distance formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. That formula might look a bit complicated. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it down into individual steps. This formula is used when both the x and y coordinates are different, when you know you have a diagonal line, or you can use it for any set of points. It might just be a little bit of extra work if you do have a horizontal or vertical line. So let's look through these steps and see where they are in the formula. Okay, step 1 says that we're going to subtract the two x values. That's what I'm doing right there. The x values are the first numbers in each ordered pair. And when we subtract, we're going to make sure we have a positive number. Okay, step 2 says to square this number. So I subtracted the x's and now I'm squaring it. You can use your calculator for this. Remember, squaring means multiplying it by itself, or use the square key. And again, your answer should be positive. If you get a negative number, write it down as a positive because squaring is always positive. Okay, step 3. Subtract the two y values. The y value is the second number in each ordered pair. And again, we're going to write this down as a positive number. In the formula, that's right up here, y2 minus y1. Step 4, we're going to square this number, squaring the answer from number 3. So we subtracted the y's, and up there I'm squaring it. Again, make sure your answer is positive. Step 5, we're going to add the two square numbers. That's right there in my formula. So in other words, I'm taking step 2 plus step 4, and I'm adding them together. And finally, I'm going to take the square root. Your square root might be a whole number, or it might be a decimal. If you get a decimal, just round to one decimal place. At first, this formula can look complex. We're going to work through some of them together. Just focus on the steps, and you can definitely do this. We're going to do problem number 14 together. Number 14 says to find the distance between the point 8, 9 and 1, 6. We're going to walk through the steps. Okay, first thing we do is subtract the two x values. So the x values are those first numbers in each spot. So we subtract 8 minus 1. That equals 7. Then we square that number. And again, when we square, our answer should be positive. Your calculator should give you a positive number. If it accidentally doesn't, make sure you just write it down as a positive number. So we're going to take our answer from number 1, which is 7, and we're going to square that. So using our calculator, 7 squared is 49. In step 3, we subtract the y values. Y was the second number in each ordered pair. So 9 minus 6 equals 3. We take our value from number 3, which was 3, and we're going to square that. So 3 squared equals 9. Next, we add the two square numbers. So that was my numbers from step 2 and step 4. So 49 plus 9, which is equal to 58. And finally, our last step is to take the square root. You will need your calculator for that. So 58 square root. We want to round that to 1 decimal place. Square root of 58 is 7.6. So 7.6 is the distance between those points. The last problem we're going to do together is number 16 on your worksheet. Number 16 says find the distance between 3, 1 and 8, 13. Now, if you're really good at using the formula, you can go ahead and use this distance formula, but really what you're doing is these steps. In number 16, I'm not making you write down all the answers to each step, but that's how you're going to get the correct answer. The number one mistake people make when doing the distance formula is to try to type too much into your calculator at once. Your calculator gets confused on what you really mean. So to use this formula, let's do the steps. Okay, so we start in number 1 by subtracting the two x values. My x values are 3 and 8. I'm going to subtract them, and I'm going to start with the bigger one so I get a positive number. And 8 minus 3 equals 5. So if you're following along in the formula, what I just did by subtracting the two x values was this first part here. Step 2 says to square this number. So in our formula, we subtracted, now we square that. Squaring should give you a positive number. So use your calculator. We're going to take 5 squared, which is 25. Now we move to the y values. So subtract the two y values. The y values are the second number in each ordered pair. I'm going to take 13 minus 1, which gives you 12. Now we're at step 4, where we're going to square that answer. So the answer from number 3, so 12 squared equals, and again, remember to use your calculator for the squared button. So 12 squared is 144. Now we add our two square numbers. So I'm adding those together. My squares were in steps 2 and 4. Adding 25 plus 144 equals 169. And we're at our last step, which is to take the square root. We're going to use our calculator to find the square root of 169. 169 square root. In this case, it was a whole number. Square root of 169 was 13. So the distance between those points is 13. If you have more questions as you continue on the worksheet, please send me an email or let's set up a time to meet online.